It's almost cliche to say at this point, but 2020 has been an absolute bitch of a year. I don't have to tell you why, you just lived through it too, and I think we're all eager to just close this thing out and start up the new one as quick as we can. That said, I do want to close it out right, and while the end of 2019 feels like it happened a decade ago, I do remember feeling like it wasn't quite complete without my annual Best OPs of the Year list to tie it off. I did take a break from those for good reason. They were far and away the most time-consuming thing I worked on each year. I would watch literally every anime opening that came out, many of them multiple times over, categorizing and comparing them to whittle the selection down to what I considered to be the best of the best. It was a weeks-long endeavor that simply was not worth the amount of views those videos brought in, and I'm pretty sure I was the only person who cared about the process. It would definitely be way too much to handle after everything we just went through and before I subject myself to the torture of the worst of the year list, so this is just going to be a list of my favorites, selected and ranked based mainly on how goblin gooey my brain gets watching them, which I hope will translate to some goo for you too. Another thing that gets the goo center of my brain going is deals, and Bookwalker has some great deals on manga and light novels going right now that only get better when you use the promo code BASEMENT for a 600 yen discount at checkout. To celebrate the release of How Not to Summon a Demon Lord Volume 13, they're running a promotion until December 7th where you can get 10% coin back on each volume of the light novel or get 20% off a bundle of the whole dang series. That's 12 ebook volumes with super high-res illustrations for just $80 US. And until December 8th, you can get 50% coin back on the first volume and 30% back on subsequent volumes of their top 50 best-selling series of 2020. That means now is the best time to get into reading Ascendance of a Bookworm, ReZero, Konosuba, Interspecies Reviewers, J.K. Haru, Quintessential Quintuplets, Rent-A-Girlfriend, Gleipnir, Otakoi, How Not to Summon a Demon Lord, again, Spice and Wolf, and many series too spicy to show you anything but these pink boxes on the sale page. And remember, if you're a new Bookwalker user, you can get a 600 yen discount on top of the coin back for future purchases by using the promo code BASEMENT when you check out. Now, on the subject of promos, in 10th place, the God of High School's opening, Contradiction by Keisuke, feels quite appropriately like a flashy promo for a big fighting tournament. It's packed with slick motion graphics and killer fight choreography, but decidedly light on narrative content and foreshadowing. It doesn't even feature much in the way of original animation. Most of the action in it is simply repurposed and recolored cuts from the show, most of them from the first episode. Still, that animation is every bit as impressive as anything you'd see in a more bespoke opening, and the show's frequent use of extreme perspective shots really fits the music video aesthetic. The stylistic recoloring does a good job of highlighting the important characters and making those fights feel different than they do in the show. It all matches the neon graffiti motion graphics used in the rest of the OP well, and most importantly, it is timed perfectly to the music, which means that every time my brain tries to get stuck on a shot I recognize, it immediately gets carried away from it in the irresistible flow of an absolutely killer jam. From the onslaught of digitized imagery and tournament buzzwords at the beginning, to the more mellow establishing shots of soul that bridge us into the fights, to the gloriously stylish group pose into title card combo at the end, every last aspect of this OP is tightly tuned to rev up your hype engines and get you excited to watch high schoolers hurt each other. Honestly, it's pretty impressive that MAPPA managed to make it feel this fun and fresh while reusing so many assets. It goes to show that a strong creative vision and a cohesive sense of style are all it really takes to make a compelling opening. Well, that and a kick-ass theme song. On that note, my number 9 pick is Easy Breezy by Kel Miko, the opening to Keep Your Hands Off Eizouken. And there's really not much I can say about this OP that's not apparent just from watching it. It is an instantly and irresistibly charming little ditty that gets a heck of a lot of mileage out of very few art assets. You got 2 sets of dance poses for each character, repeated several times over in a few different color palettes against a handful of pattern backgrounds, several static images animated purely with digital effects and motion tweening, a bunch of rough doodles doing cute little 2-frame loops, a pair of disembodied clapping hands, 2 smoother full-body dance animations of the whole cast that are only silhouettes, so very easy to animate, and of course the text for the credits and the title of the show. It's not much, and most of it is used several times over, yet this OP flawlessly conveys the tone of the show, the personalities and skills of its core cast, and most importantly, the raw power of amateur animation in a way that has compelled fans of the series to watch and rewatch it 10 million times over since it aired last January. A big part of that appeal is obviously the song itself, which is catchy enough that I started crab dancing in the middle of writing this thing, but it's also a testament to Masaki Yuasa's skill as a director. From Kaiba to the Tatami Galaxy to Devilman Crybaby, Yuasa's demonstrated time and again that he is a master of minimalism in his OPs, and this is just the most potent example of that talent in action. It's not even the only one this year. Japan Sinks 2020 paints the soon-to-be-over quaint daily lives of the Muto family in soft, stark watercolor, setting us up for a sucker punch of poignant tragedy in each of the episodes that follows it. It is gorgeous and ephemeral, like a fading memory, but Eizouken's opening worms its way into your ear and burrows deep into your mind basically as soon as you hear it, and I have watched, listened to, and smiled at it more times this year than I can count. Our 8th place finisher is another irresistible charmer, or at least it prominently features one. My Next Life as a Villainess, All Routes Lead to Doom, is one of the sweetest, funniest romantic comedies in recent memory, and its opening, Shoujo no Route wa Hitotsujinai by Angela, brings both the laughs and the sweets. So many sweets. If you're not familiar with the show already, the girl you see pigging out on those sweets is Katarina Claes, the villainess of a fictional otome game called Fortune Lover. Or rather, she's an unnamed gamer girl who gets reincarnated into Katarina's body, and through her efforts to avert the many death flags awaiting her character in the original game, accidentally ends up building a vast, ever-growing pansexual harem. And the parts of the opening that aren't dedicated to demonstrating what an adorable dumbass Katarina can be mostly concern themselves with introducing that very crowded harem to us. Every one of them gets a chance to show off their distinctive charms and to be charmed in turn by Baccarina. That wink is dangerous, man. All set against the gorgeous paint-on-canvas backdrop of their idyllic fantasy world. This isn't the most impressive OP in the world from an animation standpoint. For the most part, it's pretty stiff and limited, but it uses that simple and snappy movement to great comedic effect, and it impresses in other ways, particularly by integrating its credits seamlessly into that hybrid storybook stage play presentation. Which is an odd mix, but it works. The theme song that accompanies these visuals is equally fun and playful, using classical music samples to strong comic effect early on, and reacting to the majesty of the ultimate harem protag queen with appropriate choral reverence. This is one of those OPs that easily puts a big ol' smile on my face every time I watch it, not unlike the show that it precedes. My 7th place pick has a similar effect, though it produces more of an excited grin than a delighted smile. I Got It by Mia Regina is a bombastic, jazzy hard rock number that will get your head banging and your fingers snapping whether you want to or not. It has an unusual but undeniably invigorating sound, making it a perfect fit for Appare Ranman, the eclectic and exciting steampunk samurai western wacky races anime that's way cooler than whatever you're watching now, even if it's VTubers, but not if it's Akudama Drive. This OP is just pure indulgence from my perspective. A mix of loud, memorable anime character and car designs doing increasingly awesome things out in the desert, and detailed mechanical animations that are heavy on the shiny brass pipes and steam. As someone whose happy place is the deck of an impossible airship, those few shots of Appare working on the Appare are like a pint of cocaine straight to my brain. Though I do have almost as much fun watching Hototo toss his tomahawk and Jing Jalan throw her kempo kicks around. From Appare's steam segue hit-and-run tactics to TJ and Dylan's gun kata dance at the end, the action in this opening is consistently creative in its choreography and exceptional in the execution of its animation. There are a lot of great characters in Appare Ranman, and this OP gives every one of them their own chance to shine, all while showcasing the vast beauty of the American West and impressive painterly detail under an equally wide variety of weather and lighting conditions. Yeah, a lot of my love for this OP does boil down to how fun it is just to look at, but it's also well composed and paced. Appropriately for a racing anime, or part racing anime, part period drama, part cowboy samurai adventure, this OP is great at building a sense of speed and momentum to carry you through into the show itself, hyping you up for its action as it draws you into its unique and stylishly anachronistic world. I'd assume that my 6th place pick, Goodbye by Urashimasa Katasen, which opens Bungo and Alchemist, is similarly effective at drawing you into its story and world, but I can't say for sure because I opted out of watching that show. Its characters and setting do seem like a good time, but much like Bungo's Stray Dogs before it, I found myself struggling to enjoy a story so rooted in references to classical literature that I haven't read and can't read. And at least that show had Fitzgerald, Twain, and Lovecraft in it for us Western viewers. My inability to read kanji does not, however, detract one iota from the fun I have watching fashionably dressed anime sword, gun, and spearmen running, dancing, and fighting their way through a stylized, colorful world made of the stuff, though. This is one of the most visually arresting and inventive OPs of the year, packed with stunningly surreal animation that moves in time to an infectious swing beat. Though that said, it is almost as good at realistic animation. And even when it's not actually animated, it looks gorgeous. Every character shot is rendered as a stained glass cutout diorama, making each one memorable and breathtaking. Set that against a backdrop of spinning brass gears, and you've got a distinctive style that lights up the steampunk center of my brain even brighter than Opere does. Is that the only reason this ranks higher than Opere on the list? Yeah, maybe, but I also think it says something that I can so deeply enjoy this sequence while having zero attachment to its world or characters. That, to me, is a sign of a great OP. Of course, one of the things that makes great OPs great is how they play on our attachment to and understanding of the characters they involve, and my 5th place pick, Daddy Daddy Do, from the 2nd season of Kaguya-sama Love is War, really exemplifies that. As I explained in my analysis of the opening earlier this year, cough cough, link in the top right corner, cough, it's essentially a full-blown, self-contained Kaguya-sama skit that captures the tone and personality of the series in its comedic and dramatic moments entirely through expressive, fluid animation. That works, in part, because the OP makes heavy use of subtle and not-so-subtle references to jokes and moments from the show and manga. It's definitely at its funniest when you're intimately familiar with the cast and their antics, but even if it's your first taste of Kaguya-sama, Daddy Daddy Do does a great job of conveying what the show is all about, what those characters are like, how they feel about each other, and how they interact. And if it makes you laugh, which it probably will, because, come on, just look at Chika, then you can be fairly certain that the show it precedes will do the same. In terms of raw production values, this is easily one of the most visually impressive openings of the year, and thanks to Masayuki Suzuki's masterful crooning and the beautiful accompaniment of Airi Suzuki, no relation, it's one of the most pleasant to listen to as well. I've already spent quite a lot of words analyzing this OP, so I'm going to use the rest of the time in this slot to recommend that you go watch the full music video if you haven't already. And I do mean watch it. The full song is worth listening to, obviously, but half the fun is seeing just how hard both Suzukis go as they belt it out. It's a heck of a performance. In 4th place, we get the rare joy of watching an anime character belt out her own theme song, as Princess Cialis, played by Inori Minase, performs Kaimin Anmin Cialis Seikatsu for the sleepy princess in the Demon Castle. Like My Next Life as a Villainous, this OP blends elements of storybooks and stagecraft to create its aesthetic, though it folds up and discards the former with its ooky-spooky pop-up demon castle in favor of brightening up the place with some Broadway lights and pastel paint, much to the chagrin of some of the castle's formerly terrifying inhabitants. Interspersed between shots of the princess sprucing up the castle and singing enthusiastically about her quest for a good night's sleep, we see glimpses of the atrocities she's willing to commit to get there. But even with those warnings of the horrors to come, the castle's denizens can't help but get carried away by her charisma and start dancing to her tune. Her adorable, subtly sinister, infectiously upbeat tune. Though, considering how many times she dies in this opening, it's clear they're not the only ones in danger. Just thank Mao-sama that this is a retro RPG world with no consequences. Although it should be noted that canonically, Cialis does not actually care if the victims of her hunt for good bedding are resurrected or not. This OP is a visual and audible sugar bomb, packed with some of the absolute cutest sights and sounds of any anime this year. The adorable tuxedos and top hats on Cialis's demonic teddy bear guards, the colorful, stylized background art designed to mimic the look of a low-budget theatrical set, and of course Cialis herself are all just impossibly kawaii, and that only makes it funnier when the much scarier, more serious demons around them get roped into the musical madness. Sleepy Princess in the Demon Castle is one of the year's funniest, most delightful shows, and this enthusiastic, energetic celebration of its characters and comedy makes for a perfect introduction to it. In third place, we've got another OP that I've already talked about at length, just last week, in fact, Kaikai-Kitan from Jujutsu Kaisen. Though there is more in this OP than I could break down even in a 20-minute video, including deep manga spoilers that I could only allude to. If you're curious, another YouTuber, OceanIs, did a much less spoiler-safe but really stellar breakdown of some of the symbolism. There are also even more significant backgrounds from around Tokyo that I don't know the city well enough to recognize. Thankfully, I have you guys here and on Twitter to help me locate them, and through the power of crowdsourcing, you found quite a few since last week. For instance, when we see Megumi crouching down at the beginning, he's in Sendagaya Tunnel in Shibuya, a place famously rumored to be haunted on account of the graveyard directly above it. Nanami is sitting in Nikolai Bergman's cafe in Minato, which has more than 7 lamps in its real lighting fixtures, confirming that those were an intentional reference to his powers. Maki, meanwhile, can be found cleaning her glasses not in Shinjuku Gyoen, but rather Otaguro Park, a picturesque little garden in Ogikubo with an equally picturesque little tea house in it. When we see Mahito making Cronenbergs out of people, he's doing it on a shopping street in Kichijoji, and most importantly, that funky golden eye thing behind Aoi Todo is in fact an art installation in one of the tunnels that leads to the Tokyo Metropolitan Building. A visual signifier that your boy is literally a man of culture. I'm a bit mad I missed that, honestly, but goddamn I love this OP. And not just for all the clever references and framing. Kaikai-Kitan is an absolutely killer theme song, and it's really cool that the artist behind it, Eve, is getting more mainstream recognition for his talents. The singer-songwriter slash Vocaloid producer previously created one of the ending themes for Dororo, and given the surreal pop vibe of many of his singles and animated music videos, he's kind of a perfect fit for establishing the hip, spooky atmosphere that defines Jujutsu Kaisen. My second place pick is also great at setting the tone for its series, though that tone is a lot more lighthearted and old school. GP, the fully instrumental opening to Great Pretender, creates a Hollywood crime movie vibe by playing jazzy homage to the inimitable style of Saul Bass, the original OP artiste. With digital technology and a team of expert animators at its disposal, Great Pretender is able to create an OP a lot more dynamic, chaotic, and three-dimensional than anything Bass could have cooked up back in the 60s, but it still captures that same retro essence. Much like the show itself, this OP takes us on a breakneck international thrill ride from the streets of Tokyo to the sun-dipped luxury pools of LA to the waterways of Singapore, as seen from a stunt plane going 200 plus miles per hour in a matter of seconds. Each location linked to the last through slick, snappy, seamless transitions. It's a lot of fun seeing how these shots connect and transform into each other, and they go by so quickly that there's plenty of detail to pick up across repeat viewings. In addition to allowing for these smooth segues, the impressionistic silhouettes of buildings and people also create a lot of negative space that's just begging to be filled with credits, making this one of the most aesthetically well-balanced OPs out there. Its blend of bright, vibrant colors, simple, appealing shapes, and fast, frenetic motion is downright hypnotizing, and it's absolutely packed with foreshadowing for the anime's 4 crazy cases, too. So even as you get swept up in its frenetic, kinetic energy, it's priming you for the series to come. As OPs go, GP is a work of art. plain and simple, and on top of being one of my favorites, it's undeniably one of the year's best and most creative. Not quite the best, but we'll get to that. Before we get to first place, I want to take a quick pit stop to highlight some honorable mentions. Haikyuu, as it always does, had two bangin', beautifully animated OPs this year. So did My Hero Academia, and while the opening for the Overhaul arc kinda phoned it in my opinion, the School Festival OP more than makes up for that with some bold stylistic choices and a slice of life vibe that's a nice change of pace from the usual brawling. Akudama Drive's OP surprisingly doesn't feature any brawling for an anime with a character named Brawler in it, but it nonetheless oozes neon-drenched style from every frame. If you want animated action, Decadence had some great cuts of the high-flying variety, and the second opening for SAO War of Underworld mixed some solid sword fighting with a genuinely clever motif of the characters' VR avatars blending in with their real-world selves. Just a shame about all the Kirito in it. Princess Connect Redive has more cute fantasy girls doing fantastical things, and feels like a more laid-back take on a Konosuba OP. Though if laid back is what you're looking for, it's hard to beat the wonder and charm of Somali and the Forest Spirit's soft and sweet intro. You might expect something similar from the romantically tinged Tonikawa, and it certainly starts on a somber note, but then it breaks down, breaking the standard anisong format in the process, and it's just plain awesome. On the other hand, Science Fell in Love, So I Tried to Prove It has a much more conventional rom-com opener, made enjoyable through scientific stylization that matches its upbeat theme song perfectly. Though if we're talking pure style, it's tough to top the fast and powerful opening to BNA, Brand New Animal. Trigger always brings it. Oh, and on the subject of furries, if you're wondering why Beastars didn't make this list with its jaw-dropping stop-motion OP, that's only because I'm counting Japanese release dates, and it dropped in fall of 2019, even though it came out in North America this year. I could keep going with these for a while. My past lists were like 40% honorable mention, and I have no doubt that shows I'm not caught up on, like Black Clover, Fire Force, Boruto, and Pokemon, brought it like they do every year. But my goal is to keep this manageable, so let's roll on to first place. My favorite opening of 2020 is Realize by Konomi Suzuki, no relation, the first OP for the second season of ReZero. Other openings on this list may be a little better at building raw hype and showing off impressive animation, but this is the only one that manages to do that while also making me cry. Of course, like both of ReZero's previous OPs, it's dark, moody, and atmospheric, and its visuals are the darkest out of any of them by far. After Echidna's glowing butterflies introduce us to the witches and Subaru, looking like he's just absolutely done with it all, we see him walking through it all, past every brutalized corpse he left behind as he returned by death over and over to reach this point. And even as he's reminded of all the pain and suffering he went through, his face remains a cold mask. It's only when he finds Emilia slaughtered, surrounded by corpses of his other friends and allies, that the pain sets in and he damn near breaks, before breaking into a mad, self-destructed sprint in the OP's back half, falling to pieces mid-stride time and again as his increasingly desperate face is painted with his own blood. And the thing that spurs it all on? Satella, or maybe Emilia, wrapping her arms around him gently and telling him she loves him. The only thing a man who hates himself, deep down, can't take. The reason his friends' smiling faces flash between all this carnage and the frantically scrawled messages declaring his intent to die for Emilia is because this pain he's putting himself through is his response to all of their kindness. Hurting himself to save them is the only way he can think of to pay them all back. There are plenty of little Easter eggs in this opening as well, from the credits being written out in Lagunican before translating to kanji to the specific details of these death animations, and the theme song is a banger, but it's that overarching narrative, the way it captures the season's themes of loneliness and self-abuse, that pushes it to the top of this list. It hits me right in the feels every time I watch it, which actually wasn't often when I was watching the show itself. They only use this OP in like 2 or 3 episodes, forgoing it in the rest in order to use that time for real storytelling instead, but that only makes it more remarkable that this OP's as good as it is. That is my list, but I'd love to hear what your favorite OPs of the year are and why in the comments down below. While I've got you here, I recommend checking out my video essay about the horrific themes of isolation in ReZero if you're looking to feel more things, or if you're in the mood to hear me talk about anime openings some more, consider checking out last week's What's in an OP for Jujutsu Kaisen. I'm Geoff Thew, professional shitbag, signing out from my mother's basement.